On October 21st, IBJ unveils the 2025 Women of Influence. Join us to celebrate Indy's most inspiring leaders and hear the powerful stories behind their success. Don't miss this moment. Register now at ibj.com/influence 2025.
The connection between water from your faucet and the 13-year, $2 billion investment way below ground in Indianapolis to make sure it's clean.
The Dig Indy tunnel system consists of 6 interconnected deep rock tunnels, all of which are being constructed about 250 feet below Indianapolis. And when the entire project is done, we'll have over 28 miles of tunnel, which will hold over 270 million gallons of sewage during a wet weather event.
More on Citizens Energy Group's Dig Indy project and the other services the company provides to nearly 1 million people in central Indiana. Get to know Citizens Energy Group CEO Jeff Harrison on this edition of the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. And I'm pleased to be joined on the podcast this week by Jeff Harrison, the dynamic leader at Citizens Energy Group. He's the CEO of the organization, an organization that is at the forefront, certainly, of the in the ever-changing energy business, and also a major player in Indianapolis and Indiana. Jeff, thanks for taking the time.
Gary, thank you so much for having me on today. Appreciate it.
Hey, you know, I can remember, as I was doing a little research on this, I can remember when it was Citizens Gas and Coke. That was a long time ago, and I think a lot of people probably remember that name, but certainly the name change in the late 2000s to Citizens Energy Group better reflects what you are all about now. Talk about Citizens Energy Group today and your ever-expanding portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was a name change to reflect a bit of growth that has taken place over the years. In the early 2000s, Citizens acquired the steam and chilled water businesses that really provide heating and cooling load to downtown area businesses directly, just diagonally from Lucas Oil Stadium. That's our steam plant. And on top of that steam plant are the blue and white stacks that most people will see driving down near Lucas Oil Stadium. That's our steam plant. To the west of that is our chilled water facility. Our chilled water facility provides cooling, AC to downtown area buildings, including Lucas Oil Stadium. We'll cool Lucas Oil Stadium down, and then sometimes they'll open that roof and let all of our cold air out. But that's their prerogative. And then in addition to that, we also in 2011 had 2 large acquisitions. We acquired and are now the state's largest water utility in the state. And then also we have the largest wastewater utility in the state. And then still just a few more years after that, we also acquired Westfield Utilities, Westfield Water, Westfield Wastewater, and Westfield Natural Gas. And therefore, we needed to change the name to reflect all of that growth. And then we also, earlier in 2008 or so, closed the Coke utility portion of that of the business. And so today, we stand now as Citizens Energy Group.
And you're unique in the fact that Citizens Energy Group is, I assume it's still a public charitable trust, right? You're not a traditional, what one would think an investor-owned utility.
That is absolutely correct. We are a public charitable trust, Gary, it's a very unique moniker. So we're a very unique entity. We think that we are the only one of our kind actually in the nation. And it takes a bit to unpack, but as a public charitable trust, we serve central Indiana. We call our constituents beneficiaries. And our North Star, our primary purpose is to provide benefits to our beneficiaries. And we essentially do that by, among other things, providing safe, affordable, reliable utility services. And for many of those services, many people don't know that we provide those services at cost to our customers. And so the organization is local. We've been around since 1887, again, starting as a natural gas utility. but again, happy to provide product utility services to our customers. We get a bit confused with others. Some people think that we have the electricity market as well. So no, we are not AES Indiana. Our friends over there have the electric utility, and happy for them. And then again, but we do again are excited about serving the central part of Indiana.
And as you look at central Indiana, and you mentioned some of the acquisitions, including Westfield, there's a real growth story obviously going on. And I think we're about to see that next chapter in downtown Indianapolis in particular. But Westfield is certainly an area that's growing in a dramatic way. What kinds of challenges does that offer to you as an energy provider in keeping up with that growth? Data centers, as an example, obviously they're kind of in the spotlight now too, with the big demand on water and energy there. What are the challenges that you face in keeping up with growth?
There are challenges, and I'll just take a moment to talk about what growth has looked like before. And growth before was fairly routine, I would say, at times stagnant, or we saw small jumps in terms of growth. But with the advent of artificial intelligence and reshoring of manufacturing, now we're seeing just significant hyper growth, I will call it, in the energy space. We're seeing again these data centers come on from a water utilities perspective, huge consumers of water to cool these systems. And then on the electric side, they're also tremendous energy consumers as well. Working for and looking at on the electric side, you'd see a 5 megawatt load growth historically. People would get excited about 5 megawatts. A unit of measure in the electric industry is a megawatt. And today, that 5 megawatt with an AI or a data center facility could grow to as much as 1,000 megawatts. And so, just a tremendous hyper growth. We're seeing growth on the water utility side as well, in terms of the unit of measure for water is MGD, millions of gallons per day. And we're seeing growth there for a data center per se of up to 2030 MGD. To put that into perspective, all of Indianapolis on a day like today, entire central part of the state is around an average day for us is around 125 MGD. So a significant growth taking place. And the challenges are being met. We're asking our partners who are looking to locate here, and we're happy to talk with them to get us in early. We would love to be on the planning stages of that development and of that growth. And then we're also looking at long-term planning. So Gary, here in the central part of the state, we have a 50-year water supply plan. So we're looking out 50 years to understand where our next gallon of water will be coming from, so that we can make sure and ensure that Central Indiana has the water it needs to not only grow and thrive, but again, just on a normal day, meet our needs and allow everyone to live a high quality of life here in the central part of the state.
Yeah. What is the outlook for water supply, in particular in central Indiana, as you look at it, Jeff? Obviously, back to the whole data center situation, that's, a lot of communities are beginning to push back, a lot of concern. Are we going to spiral into a water shortage? What is the outlook, and how does Indiana stack up competitively? Because it's a competitive game as they're pursuing data centers, investment, jobs, those types of things. How do we stack up from a water supply standpoint?
Yeah, I'd say it is a competitive game, and it's also a location. These data centers, as I understand it, need to be located near major areas where they'll be used. And so I'd say, again, about the top portion of the state has access to Great Lakes. So they've got water north to the south of us. Jeffersonville, Clarksville, that area has water with the Ohio River. Here in the central part of the state, we are also fairly strong in that we have about 75% of our water comes from surface water. White River, Eagle Creek, Fall Creek, those bodies of water provide us with significant amounts of water here in central Indiana. And then in addition to that, what we've done, Gary, is we've placed reservoirs, storage devices at the headworks of these waterways, so that when those streams get low, and it happens on occasion, we'll release water from our reservoirs and then supplement the flow to our treatment plants for treatment of water for our community. So I think we're well positioned here in central Indiana for, again, the next 50 years. Now, we have to continue to collaborate and partner with other communities here in the central part of the state and around central Indiana, and then also work with our legislators on policies and help them understand where we are with respect to water and how water can and should be used as well. And so, but I think by and large, the central part of Indiana, our outlook is very positive with respect to water supply.
You are about, as we're taping this podcast, Jeff, you're about to christen a major project, and I say major with all caps because the Indianapolis Big Dig project has been going on. The Dig Indy Tunnel System, really, I think, has been decades in the making. A 28-mile network, 18-foot diameter tunnels built way underneath the ground. Before we get into why it's happening, describe this project. It's mind-boggling how big it is.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. So our Dig Indy tunnel system is just an absolutely phenomenal project. It's a network of deep rock tunnels. Deep rock because they're constructed in bedrock. In Indiana, once you go down 100 feet, no longer in dirt. You hit bedrock, and in Indiana, that bedrock is limestone. But the Dig Indy tunnel is constructed it's 250 feet beneath Indianapolis, and it's designed to capture and treat sewer overflows, again, keeping the city in compliance with the Clean Water Act. But this system is massive, as you stated, 28 miles, 18 feet in diameter, just an incredible project, transformative in terms of its infrastructure. It represents one of the largest civil infrastructure projects in the city's history. In terms of price, the price of this project, construction cost is around $2 billion. Wow. Timeline, as you state, this took a formal construction period of more than 14 years to complete. We're finishing that up just this year. We've talked about the 28 miles, 18 feet in diameter. And again, the effect of this then will allow us to capture and divert billions of gallons of wastewater each year from our local waterways.
Wow. Yeah, that's substantial. Federal government involved in this too?
Absolutely. The city initially negotiated what is called a consent decree. The consent decree essentially was an agreement to clean up our waterways here in the central part of the state here in Indianapolis. That agreement again is with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and again allowing us to adhere to the Clean Water Act. And when Citizens acquired the water utility in 2011, we became a signatory to the consent decree, and then became responsible for executing this long-term Dig Indy project to clean up our area rivers and streams.
As you look at, again, as Indianapolis, central Indiana, the region sells itself to potential businesses and others, I assume this is it's kind of something to point to as a positive, in the positive category in terms of kind of the landscape here in central Indiana.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. I think as there are probably some 800 communities across the country that are dealing with the same issue that Indianapolis, central Indiana is dealing with. And we are one of the first ones, we're towards the beginning of the line to cross that finish line in terms of completing completing our Dig Indy tunnel and completing this, a project like this. And what that will do for us then is a couple of things. One is I think it puts us in good standing with the US EPA and again, the Clean Water Act. But then two, we believe this will spur economic development here in central Indiana because the waterways will be cleaned to a level that hasn't been seen in 100 years. And as the waterways are getting cleaner, we also believe that more members of our community will take advantage of the waterways. We believe that there'll be economic investment and development along these waterways as well. So very much a competitive advantage for our community to have those two facets now allowed to be able to take place and help us again attract just economic development from a number of different avenues.
Yeah, given that, I know your focus obviously is on the energy piece, but as you look at Indianapolis, central Indiana, the region, and how it is positioned against competitors in the Midwest and elsewhere, when it comes to economic development, how would you assess from a kind of a big picture standpoint how Indianapolis, the Indianapolis region, shapes up competitively?
I think Indianapolis is incredibly attractive for a number of different reasons. From the economic standpoint, I think again here in the central part of the state, Citizens Citizens Gas Utility has some of the lowest rates in the state. We've been at the number one or number two of the jurisdictional utilities here in the state of Indiana under the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission's auspices. We've been one of the lowest utilities in terms of natural gas here in the community. I think, again, from a competitive standpoint, our water utility rates are very competitive as well. From an energy standpoint, I think we're incredibly competitive. If you look at, again, I think what we have to offer in terms of place and quality of life, a number of elements come to mind there with respect to our sporting teams. Our Fever, Indiana Fever, just finished a great run here just recently, and so proud of them, especially with all of their injuries. Before them, we had the Indiana Pacers who were competing. We just saw the Indianapolis Indians with a name change. We've got the Colts up now who are making a breakaway start here to start the football. So I think, from a quality of life and from a quality of space, we have a number of attractive elements here in central Indiana, and that's not to include the business environment here, which has been very, very positive. We're also known as an organization or a city that can really spin up businesses fairly quickly. The Indy Chamber here is donning the moniker Speed City for Indianapolis with respect to businesses moving to here in the central part of the state.
Much more ahead with Citizens Energy Group CEO Jeff Harrison. When we return, we'll talk about how this self-described son of a bricklayer from Jeffersonville, Indiana, made his way to Indianapolis and ultimately to Citizens Energy Group. That and much more when the Business and Beyond podcast returns.
At PNC Bank, we're committed to making a difference in the lives of our customers and communities by helping them move forward financially. As a Main Street bank, we try to do right by our customers with every encounter. Our local teams offer personalized financial advice to help guide you in making the best decision. We're proud to be part of your community. PNC Bank. See how we can make a difference for you at pnc.com. Copyright 2022, the PNC Financial Services Group, Inc., all rights reserved.
We build Indiana. The Laborers International Union of North America builds and maintains roads, bridges, and other essential infrastructure that make us the crossroads of America. So thanks to LIUNA members' work, Hoosiers have a better quality of life, like access to utilities, easier routes to jobs, schools, or medical care, and deliveries keep moving. We build Indiana for good jobs and stronger communities. The Laborers International Union of North America. We are LIUNA.
Up your business news game with a subscription to the IBJ and Inside Indiana Business. For a limited time, try us out for just $1 a week for 8 weeks. Get started now at ibj.com/trial offer.
And welcome back to the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. My guest this week is Jeffrey Harrison, the Citizens Energy Group CEO. A native Hoosier, Jeff, and I think it's interesting in doing some of the background, some of the research, you describe yourself as the son of a bricklayer from Jeffersonville, Indiana, which is a great description, I think. And I would assume growing up, a lot of the things you experienced probably you draw upon today in your current role.
Absolutely, I do, and I am the proud son of a bricklayer. My father was an amazing man. I was his hod carrier. And for those who don't know what a hod carrier is, you do everything except lay the brick or the block. My dad could do both. So you mix the cement, you carry those brick or block wherever they need to go. So I carry brick up the ladder for chimneys, down stairs or a ladder for a basement. Very difficult times, but I'll tell you a couple of things that I learned was teamwork. worked with my dad and some of his colleagues in that field. We would rise early in the morning, and I still do that even today, to get ready for work. And then we would go to work. It was hard, just hard work during the day. And still, I tell young people when I speak to them, don't be afraid of hard work, and participated in that. And then I think as well, just perseverance. And then seeing my dad again as he would build different structures, chimneys, buildings, just seeing these things come together and having that vision as a bricklayer and as his son were elements that I still use and utilize today in my position as the CEO here at Citizens.
I'll bet. How did you get kind of on the path to engineering, to, the science, technology, engineering, and math path? Obviously, I'm sure you were a good student. How did you steer into the STEM area?
You're right. I was a good student. I was good, really good in math and the sciences. And my high school guidance counselor, Gwen Mosier, was I had a number of leaders in my life that helped direct my future. But my high school guidance counselor knew that I did work outside of high school. I also played basketball for Jeffersonville High School. It was one of the largest high schools in the state back then. And Southern Indiana basketball was job number one. And so we came into school early and had a little mini practice there, shooting free throws, went to school all day. After that, you went to practice till the wee hours of the night, and then home for homework. Repeat that the next day, game on Fridays. And my Jeffersonville High School had it looked like a Division II college gymnasium. At times they were standing room only. But because of all of this work, my guidance counselor recognized that I did all of that work, but then I was also in the top 10% of my graduating high school class. And so she recommended that I go to, and I attend and think about Rose-Hulman. I loved, again, learning. I love the computer work. And so she is really who set me on the path. And at first, I'll admit, Gary, I wasn't too interested. I maybe wanted to be a bricklayer or maybe wanted to go do a different path. But she got my father involved. And my dad said, I like this for you. And I said, okay, Father, I like this as well. So I went to Rose-Hulman and had just an amazing time at Rose-Hulman, a very, very difficult school. I think they just announced they are the number one undergraduate school in the nation, 27th year in a row. Yeah. And so proud of that organization and what it has done to both men and women graduating from it. We've got great institutions around the state, but again, really proud and happy to have graduated from Rose-Hulman. Just so much there that I learned growing up, learned about business, learned about technology growing up at Rose-Hulman.
Yeah, I want to ask you about Rose, but also back to Jeffersonville, because as you mentioned, you great basketball in Southern Indiana, certainly Jeffersonville and New Albany, and you can go on down the list. Jeff had some great teams. Where was the farthest you guys went in the tournament?
We did not get very far, unfortunately, Gary. That's a little sore spot, but nevertheless, there were some great teams. My high school team, my senior high school basketball team, I think we were ranked 19th in the state of Indiana, and we were upset by a small school, Providence.
Wow.
I think it was one of those we were practicing for the next game and hadn't just kind of didn't prepare properly. But I'm glad to say, and I'm glad to see Jeffersonville, I believe, won the state championship here in Indianapolis just this past year. So talking about great Southern Indiana basketball, which I could do for a while, but glad to see the Red Devils participate and compete and be able to take home that championship this year.
Yeah, and that defeat you talk about, obviously a sore spot for you, but that is reflective of the beauty, I think, of what single class basketball used to be.
You're absolutely right. It was. I love the single class basketball. Love the classes today as well, but they're just different. Yeah. But again, just an incredible way to compete at various levels. And again, sometimes those smaller schools, and we've got the movie Hoosiers, and you've got my version of Hoosiers. Took on some of the smaller schools, and large schools took on some of the smaller schools, and those smaller schools were able to prevail.
Yeah, and you played, as you said, you played hoops, you played basketball at Rose-Hulman, right? And that's no small feat. You talk about challenging because the academic rigor at Rose is very difficult, and then to layer in basketball on top of that had to be a real challenge.
That was, and it was an incredible challenge, and you're absolutely right. It was that the atmosphere was such that the professors were not very forgiving to the athletes, and almost two separate factions there in this again prestigious engineering school. In fact, my senior year, we were awarded an opportunity to play in the Division III NCAA tournament, and there was opposition to our participation by the college professors there, and so there had to be a meeting to determine if the basketball team would in fact be allowed to accept a bid to the NCAA Division III tournament. Long story short, we were allowed to participate. We won our first game, but then we lost again in our second game. But I'll tell you, from a high school sporting perspective, the experience was absolutely amazing. It was absolute to be able to participate, the friendships that you maintain, the competitiveness that you get to enjoy. Just the ability to compete has just been again a lifelong facet and just benefit for me personally.
Yeah. Graduated from Rose. What was your first job? How did you start your professional career?
So I did. I graduated from Rose, and I had a number of job interviews. One was right here in Indianapolis with what is now AES Indiana. They were then at the time called Indianapolis Power and Light Company. And I remember coming to Indianapolis. It was a bright, sunny day here downtown. And one of the things that attracted me the most to Indianapolis was the friendly atmosphere. It reminded me of home. It reminded me of Jeffersonville. We were very friendly community in Jeffersonville, Indiana. And in Jeffersonville growing up, you could come to my home sight unseen, knock on my door. And I wouldn't do this today, Gary, but knock on my door and we'd yell, "Come in." Sight unseen, we'd yell, "Come in." If we were eating, we'd say, "Hey, grab a plate of food, sit down, and then tell us what you want." And so when I came to Indianapolis to interview, again, walking around downtown Indianapolis, literally on the circle of downtown Indianapolis, people were just so friendly, saying hello, saying hi. That Hoosier hospitality just saying true here for me. And I thought to myself, okay, this is home. And so I accepted a position with Indianapolis Power and Light then as a young engineer, and moved from Terre Haute, Indiana to Indianapolis.
Yeah. As an African American in the utility business, which historically is lacked diversity, let's be honest about it. I think that's beginning to change. But were there challenges you faced as an African American advancing in the utility industry?
Well, absolutely. I think to your point, there just were not a lot of African Americans in the business world for the utility space, and so I did have some challenges. They were, in fact, I had a supervisor who told me that I would never rise to the level of supervisor just because of a number of different things, and so I think what you can do are a couple of things, and I talk to young people about this even now. You need to listen and see if what critiques are coming your way are actually true. If they are, own up to them, get over them, and then try to improve in that manner and in that way. I did that, took it to heart. Of course, you're going to be upset at first, but I tell young people, get over it, and then again, move forward. Because of my perseverance in my childhood and growing up the way I did, I saw no wall that I could not climb. And so really dug deep and tried to improve myself in terms of my business acumen. And that led me to then move on and try to, again, improve my education, and went on to get an MBA, a Master's in Business Administration from IU.
Well, certainly Indianapolis and Indiana are the better for it to have you here, Jeff. Really appreciate you taking the time to chat on the podcast. And again, I want to thank you for all you do, not just for Citizens Energy Group, but for the broader Indianapolis and Indiana communities, because it is very important and part of our success story. So thanks again.
Thank you, Gary. Thanks again for having me.
All right, and thank you for joining us on this episode of the Business and Beyond podcast. We are a weekly conversation presented by PNC, focused on successful people, achievers in business, sports, entertainment, and beyond. And you can download all of our episodes and get Indiana Business News 24/7. All you have to do is go to InsideIndianaBusiness.com. I'm Gary Dick. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Whether it's healthcare innovation, major infrastructure, or global sports impact, Inside Indiana Business with Gary Dick tells the stories of Indiana's groundbreakers and game changers. It's the must-listen show for business, civic, and community leaders across the state. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts or at ibjpodcast.com.
On the go? So are we. Get the IBJ Media app, your all-in-one news source for Indiana business news. Get breaking news alerts, read every story from IBJ, Inside Indiana Business, and the Indiana Lawyer, and listen to your favorite podcasts all in one place. Big news, small screen. Search IBJ Media and download the app today.